Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to unpack a strange and powerful idea. It's something that sounds a bit unsettling at first, but I promise it becomes incredibly freeing.
It really does.
We're talking about the realization that no one is actually keeping score of your life.
That phrase, "no one cares," sounds so harsh, doesn't it? But that's our mission for this deep dive. To completely flip how you perceive that statement, we're going to explore why understanding that, in a philosophical sense, not a personal one, might be the most empowering insight you can have.
Right. The whole premise is that most of that pressure you feel, the self-doubt, the constant second guessing, that feeling of being evaluated all the time.
By some invisible panel of judges?
Exactly. None of it was ever really happening. It was an illusion.
And we want to help you, the learner, see this pattern. This pattern of carrying an invisible weight around. And the weight isn't about what happened, the facts of your life. It's about what you thought other people were thinking.
I love how the sources called it the mental theater. It's this idea that we walk around completely convinced we're the star of the show.
Oh, absolutely. The main character.
And everyone else is the audience, just watching our every move. But here's where it gets so interesting.
This is the core of it.
The truth is, everyone else thinks they're the star.
And you're just an extra in their movie, a background character. That spotlight, you feel, it's imaginary. You're pointing it at yourself.
It's almost funny when you think about it. All that anxiety and the people you were worried about were just worrying about their own outfits.
Or what they were going to say next.
So if this is costing us so much, we have to ask, where does this internal critic even come from?
That's the perfect place to start. It doesn't just appear. It really begins in childhood when you were being watched by parents, teachers. It's necessary.
Right. You have to be taught how to behave. Don't embarrass the family.
And that's crucial for learning social rules, for safety. But then there's a shift. That external voice, the one that says, be careful, it moves inside.
And it becomes this internal imaginary observer.
Exactly. It's always there, keeping tabs, ready to disapprove. And for many of our listeners, especially those who grew up in more traditional times, that voice never really goes away. It just gets quieter, whispering things like, don't make a scene.
Or the classic, what will people think?
That one's the killer.
And the cost of that is it's staggering. The amount of energy we spend on perception management. We edit what we say, we adjust how we dress, all to avoid looking foolish.
It's a full-time job we didn't sign up for. And it leads to this cruel irony.
That no one's paying that much attention anyway.
99% of the time, no. The imbalance between your internal effort and the actual external observation is just massive.
The sources had this perfect example, the drink spill anecdote. You're at a party, you knock over a glass of wine, it goes everywhere.
That moment of horror.
Yes. But what really happens, people look over for a second, they help clean up, someone makes a joke. But how long do they actually think about you?
Maybe a few minutes, tops. Then they're right back to their own world, their own worries.
But you might replay that moment for days. Weeks, even. You're carrying this memory, this judgment that nobody else is holding. You're carrying a weight that doesn't even exist outside your own head.
So why? Why is this so deeply wired into us? If it's an illusion, why does it feel so real?
Well, this gets into the evolutionary psychology of it all, which is just fascinating.
It really is. For almost all of human history, fitting in wasn't just a good idea. It was survival.
Rejection from the tribe meant death. It's that simple. You were out on your own.
So we evolved to care deeply about what others think. That social alarm system is as real as our response to physical pain. It's designed to scream, don't get rejected.
The problem is that the world changed a lot faster than our brains did. Today, we don't need everyone's approval to survive, but that ancient alarm is still blaring.
And this is especially true for listeners who grew up in, say, the 60s or 70s. Social rules were rigid. Your reputation in a small town had real consequences.
Oh, absolutely. It could affect your job, who you married, everything. That pressure was very, very real.
So the challenge for you, listening now,
Yeah.
is how much of that pressure are you still carrying? Even though the world has completely changed, how much of your life is still being edited for an audience that isn't even in the theater anymore?
I was really struck by this one insight from, of all places, people who built these huge world-changing companies. Think electric cars, reusable rockets.
Things everyone said were impossible.
Exactly. And they all said the same thing. The moment they stopped trying to please everyone, the critics, the investors, that's when they got all their energy back.
They had to. They couldn't build a future if they were constantly editing their vision based on the past.
And that's the principle. It scales right down to our lives.
Yeah.
It's not about rockets. It's about, finally saying what you really think at the dinner table.
Or wearing what you love, even if that inner voice says it's not age appropriate.
Right. Or ending a relationship that just hasn't worked for years. It's about asking that one question.
Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this because I'm afraid of what they'll think?
But, and this is the big pivot, this is where it gets scary, once that imaginary audience disappears, you're left alone.
With yourself.
Yeah, and that freedom can be terrifying.
Because freedom means responsibility.
Yeah.
You lose the excuse. You can't say, oh, I couldn't do that because of what people would think.
The script is gone. You can't hide behind what will my parents say or what will the neighbors think. You have to decide, and you have to own it.
It's fascinating. But for many people, that freedom feels heavier than the judgment ever did. Living for approval gives you a role, a clear path.
Which brings us to maybe the most important question of all. Who am I really when nobody's watching?
Not who society wanted you to be, not who your partner needed you to be, just you.
And many people realize, often later in life, that they spent so long playing those roles that they sort of, they participated in their own disappearance.
I love that phrase from the source material, the quiet erosion of self. It's not one big event. It's 1,000 tiny compromises over decades. Saying yes when you meant no.
Staying quiet when you had something to say. Just making yourself smaller and smaller over time.
And it's often fueled by this subtle self-deception. You know something is wrong, a job is toxic, a relationship is empty, but you pretend you don't, because facing it is just too messy.
That's cooperating with the illusion, telling yourself you have no choice when really there are choices. They're just harder.
And the result is this low-grade suffering, an exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, a feeling that you're running on autopilot.
And the tragedy is thinking, that's just how life is, but it's not. So what's the alternative? How do you start rebuilding?
First, you have to accept that it's going to feel weird. It might even feel wrong at first. You're retraining a muscle you haven't used in decades, your own internal compass.
The practice is simple, but it's not easy. It starts with that brutally honest question for every decision, big or small.
Let's repeat it. Am I doing this for me? Or am I doing this because I'm afraid of what people will think?
And you have to be so honest, because the mind will disguise fear as responsibility or being considerate.
Right. It's not about becoming selfish. It's about discernment. Learning to separate the useful feedback from people who love you and know you from all the other noise.
Most of which is just coming from that internalized critic anyway.
Exactly. And when you filter that out, you become real. And something surprising happens.
People are drawn to authenticity. It's so rare. When you show up as yourself without apology, it gives other people permission to do the same.
But there's a warning here, a big one.
Yes.
Not everyone will like the real you. Some people benefited from you being small, from your compliance. You might lose some of those arrangements.
You gain the space for real connections.
And the more you define yourself from the inside out, the less other people's opinions matter. They stop being verdicts. They just become information.
And what's so vital for our listeners to hear is that it is never too late to start this. Later life is often the most free time you'll ever have. You have less to lose, and the clarity that comes with knowing time is precious.
It's the perfect time, really.
So let's bring it all home. The scrutiny you felt was an illusion. The pressure to perform was a learned behavior from a world that doesn't exist anymore.
And when you see that, really see it, responsibility takes the place of fear. And authenticity finally becomes an option.
Understanding no one is watching doesn't make your life meaningless. It gives your life back to you.
Every choice, every word, every day. It's yours to design. The excuses are gone.
And suddenly, the power to build the life you actually want is right there in your hands.
So our final thought for you to take with you is this. In a world where almost everyone is performing, being authentic is the most revolutionary act there is. You never needed anyone's permission. Ask yourself, what mask are you ready to take off? What choice have you been putting off purely out of fear of judgment? The answer to that, well, that changes everything.